Hi, welcome to Vinyasa Wellness and Weekly Wellness Tips. I had a really lovely conversation with a client this past week, and that is my inspiration for today. When I asked her in our session about what she really wanted to focus on, she said simply that she'd like to stay present through the holidays. When I asked her to elaborate on what she meant by that and what sort of obstacles that she's faced in the past, she went on to describe being too busy with holiday preparations and cooking for a large family, having the decorations perfect and everything clean, basically being a good hostess. And that was getting in the way of her enjoyment. And she had been feeling depleted and lacking the time to really care for herself. This is such an important concept to recognize and reflect upon because obviously a lot of us are super busy this time of year, and it's really easy to get swept away in the stress of obligations, shopping, hosting, cooking, extended family. And unfortunately, it becomes really easy to miss the little joys that make the season so special. And it's easy to neglect yourself as you care for others. Additionally, what I'd really like to acknowledge and add here is that for some people, it's also a really difficult time of loneliness and reminders of loss, which can then be compounded by the cold weather and the longer hours of darkness. So for either situation, and it's not uncommon to face both, staying present and tuning into what you need mentally, emotionally, and physically is really important and certainly worth putting some thought into to create some strategies in advance of those most stressful and busy moments. As demonstrated by my client, awareness of the situation is the first step. Together, we brainstormed on some things that she can do, so I'll give you those as examples, but I really encourage you to sit down in a quiet moment to identify your own list of things to do that will nourish what you need during these times. So some of her strategies were great: to involve her kids in the decorating and make it more of a family event. Now that they're bigger, she's not taking them to the mall to see Santa, so she thought that decorating together would be a good replacement activity. So she's maintaining connection to her kids, evolving an outgrown tradition, and getting some help around the house. It's really genius, right? She also plans to schedule in some self-care and ask her extended family to bring a dish this year. She likes to keep the kids busy while they're home on break, so she's going to look for more community-organized events and festivals so she doesn't feel the burden of creating an entire agenda from scratch. Finally, she's going to use her new meditation practice to center herself before each event, trusting that she's planned and prepared enough to let the evening flow and enjoy her guests, letting go of her expectations and her need for perfection. I'd also like to point out that it's really important to balance your obligations with boundaries. Connections are important, but so is protecting your own well-being. So you too can use these strategies to go in prepared with the tools that you will need, basically awareness and an action plan. Once again, if you're feeling loneliness or loss, it's healthy to acknowledge and express that. It's okay to not feel all up in the joy all season long. And in fact, most people will experience some of these feelings at some point. We've all lost someone. We all get overwhelmed sometimes. Know your triggers and have a plan to care for yourself. Being present with yourself is just as important as being present with a large family or in a social setting. Have a great movie or a binge show lined up, maybe something you're familiar with and you know brings you comfort. Line up some groceries to have a healthy mix of nourishing comfort foods and alternatives to the holiday treats so you don't overdo the sugar. Remember that processed foods, alcohol, and refined sugars are contributors to anxiety and depression. Finally, allow yourself to recharge your batteries and let your self-time be your most treasured time. I hope that these tips have helped you, that you can put a little time aside to plan out some strategies for yourself, for your own self-care, and ways to just de-stress during this season. If you have these ideas in your back pocket, you'll be so much more prepared to face them when they come and stay present in your moment with your family, with yourself. Take care and have a great holiday.